Well, good morning and welcome to the Paradigm Shift Talks of the Self-Expression International, where we seek to unearth or unleash the latent inner power of a human being. Through this Paradigm Shift Talk today, I just want to address the subject of the power of knowledge and wisdom. And this, I just want to warn you, it will be a 3-week conversation or series, a 3-week series that will be posted every Friday, looking at the theme, securing the battlefield of the rising era. Now, we're looking at this theme because it is important for us to understand where we are in terms of our context and really understand where the battlefield will be for the next era that is busy rising. Firstly, let us understand and put things in perspective. We are in a context where we have a clashing of the rising fourth industrial revolution era, but we also have the COVID-19 crisis that is engulfing the world. And therefore, we have a convolution of the decade between 2021 and 2030. You can be sure that we will be living in the post-COVID-19 era, but also a rising fourth industrial revolution era. And what that means then, it is that immediately it defines the battlefield and the battlefield of the era. And I want to submit to you that the battlefield of the rising era or the rising decade will be the mind, heart, and the soul. Let's look at the crisis of the COVID-19 as we have it right now. When you look at the crisis that we have, there are basically 3 things that are characterizing this crisis. It is fear, greed, and ignorance. And with these 3 things, you have the 3 drivers of a crisis. And when you look at these 3 drivers, they are strategically targeting particular centers of our being. Fear targets the heart. Greed targets the soul. And ignorance targets the mind. And if you look at the era in which we are, or the decade that is rising, it targets these 3 fields as well, or 3 centers of our being, as the terrain of the battle that will be waged: the mind, the heart, and the soul. And the reason is very simple. The reason is simply that whoever can control your mind controls how you think. In terms of the heart, why is the heart the target for the battle? It is simply because the heart controls how you feel. It is where your feelings and emotions are located. And therefore, if I can control how you feel, therefore I am controlling you. And then the soul is the center of your belief system. So if I can help to enter into your soul and control what you believe, then I am controlling you. So I control what you think, how you feel, and what you believe. And once I've got those 3 centers of your being, then I've got your total person. And that is why the battle for the next era is going to focus particularly on those 3 centers. Hence then, the focus of this paradigm shift series for the next 3 weeks, we'll be looking at securing the mind, the heart, and the soul. So in this particular talk today, we want to look at empowering and securing the space of the mind, where the battlefield is waged, the mind. How do we secure the mind? And we look at that by looking closely at the topic, the power of knowledge and wisdom. How do we secure and enrich the mind during this disruptive time? The convolution of the disruptive fourth industrial revolution and the COVID-19 crashes all systems of our lives. Whether you're talking about the system of our economics or the systems of our social life, our political life, our psycho-emotional life, even our spiritual life, all systems are being crushed. We've been humbled completely by this virus that is engulfing our globe. The mind is a target for this because the mind is a key area of our being. What is the mind? The mind is basically the central processing unit. It is the CPU of the human being. It is the self-control center. Basically, your mind is the last line of your defense, because it is through the mind that you process everything that you receive. You take, you break it down, you analyze it. This is the base space of your imagination. This is the space where conscious thought and subconscious thinking happens, and the interaction of those two faculties happen in the space of the mind. It is in the mind that the dreams and the visions when you sleep find its platform. It is in the mind that you have the electric power and energy to process thoughts. It is in the mind that you can basically connect with all of reality. Your mind is the single most powerful unit of your being. As I said, it is the last line of your defense. So whoever captures your mind has total control of you. Was it? I think it was, yes, it was Steve Biko who spoke about the mind being the most powerful weapon in the hands of the oppressor. Because if I can manage to control how you think, how you see things, the perspective, if I can control the lens of your imagination, then I have managed to capture your visions, your dreams, your thinking patterns, and all that. So then, how do we secure this sacred space of our being? How do we secure this? We talk about key national points in our country, strategic points of our country. The mind would be your key universal point. It is the key point of the universe of your life. How do you empower that mind to be able to be free, to be able to be creative, to be able to work or operate at its maximum potential? 5 things that you need to do through your mind so that your mind is powerful, is enriched. The first step in empowering or enriching or anchoring your mind is that you've got to be an informed person. Information is the food of your mind. It is the diet that your mind needs. Information refers to the raw, unsorted facts. When you receive information, you are empowered because you've got raw facts. You've got facts in front of you. Because when you do not have facts, when you do not have information, the data, you are disempowered. And one way or the only way you can be able to enrich your mind is to have data or information or facts. But once you've got the facts, then you've got to have the ability to break down the information that you have and analyze it, to break it down, to basically dissect the information and make sense of it. Let me make a typical example. If right now at day 36 of the lockdown in South Africa, we are told we have more than 5,000 people who have tested positive for the coronavirus. That is information. Those are facts. But then that information remains useless for you unless you are able to break it down and analyze it and dissect it to a point where you comprehend the information. So when we talk about understanding, it simply means the ability to break down the information that you have to a point where you can make sense out of the information that you have. So it is not only good to be informed, but you need to be able to understand. Understanding is important. But deeper than understanding, when you've got the facts and you are able to break them down and make sense of them and comprehend them, is good, but it is insufficient. You've got to go to the next level, which is a deeper level, which is what we call having an insight. Having an insight, friends, refers to your perspective of the information that you have. How you see, the angle through which you see the information that you have. You've got to have the information, understand it, but for you to go even deeper than this information, the facts before you and the sense that you have made out of it, you've got to have a three-dimensional thinking, what is called the 3D thinking. When you've got the 3D thinking, it is your ability to be able to look at the challenge that you have and be able to see three sides to the problem that you are dealing with. You've got to see the negative side, the positive side, the neutral side, and some people even add the fourth dimension, which is the side of the truth, and be able to look at the problem from different dimension, and this is where your imagination works. Now, how do you get an insight? You've got to have a perspective of developing an insight by being a mindful person, exercising mindfulness. The ability to be present, fully present, and fully aware of what is happening. The ability to just steady your mind and focus your mind. Friends, we live in a world that makes us to our mind to go left, right, center, and everywhere. If you are a conscious person and mindful person, you've got to be able to hold the wagon of your mind for the horses not to run with your wagon, and be able to steady your mind and be able to go deep into the problem and open the different dimensions or different perspective of the problem, and be able to then say, what does this mean? You see, the insight, friends, is that ability to go into the non-visible factors of the facts. The facts are raw data, facts, things that the reality as you see it. But the insight helps you to go deep into the invisible factors of the reality, where you understand the meaning. What is the meaning? What we have COVID-19, we have this thing called the coronavirus, but what does it mean? What does it mean for our life? What does it mean? Whatever challenge you face in your life, whatever situation you go through, behind the facts of your situation, there are non-visible factors. There is the what, which is the facts of the situation, and then there is the why, which is the deeper meaning, the non-visible aspects of the reality you are looking at. If you are able to transcend the facts and go into the space of the invisible and understand what is happening there, you are likely to be successful in the rising era. In the era of the fourth industrial revolution, in the era of the post-COVID-19 decade, those that are going to be successful are people who will be able to go beyond the what into the space of the why, because then you are able to derive meaning. You are able to make sense at a level that is unseen. And then when you move from that, and that level is called the insight dimension. So you move from the information to the understanding, then you are at the insight dimension. The fourth dimension that deepens your mind is what I call the knowledge dimension. This is the phase where you have processed the information, you have broken it down, you have analyzed it, you have received insight into it, you have gone deep into it and looked at the what and the why. You have analyzed the non-physical aspects and the meaning of the reality that you are looking at, and now you are able to take the information that you have and apply it to solve problems in your life. And this is the phase where we're talking about knowledge. Friends, it is not enough for you to have information and understanding. There are people who have information and understanding and they stop at that level. Well, when you only stop at the level of understanding the facts, you are simply an analyst. But if you are going to be successful in this new era, you need to transcend down to the level of being able to apply the knowledge, because ultimately in this era we want people that can solve problems in the economy, solve problems in society, solve problems in business, in commerce, in schools, in families, in our social life and political life. We want people with solution. The fact that you have a degree, it does not guarantee that you can solve problems. In the era, in the new dispensation of the new decade that is rising, it is not people who have certificate who will be successful. You can have the certificate, you can have a degree, you can have a diploma, the evidence on paper that you have gone through education process. But if you cannot help us to solve real life problems by applying the knowledge and the information that you have to sort out problems, then your education is not helpful for us. So this is the era of people who are all going to be able to give us real life solution. The final point, it is that of wisdom. The fifth and the deepest level or dimension of our life is the ability to apply wisdom. The ability, now what is wisdom? Wisdom is the ability to merge intuitive knowledge, to work with your intuition and merge it with your analytical thought, your practical, scientific, measurable information that you have. You work with your intuition. Your intuition works with your analytical mind. You are able to combine your gut with your head and are able to then interpret the events and the facts of life. When you can do that, then you are able to predict situations of life. People with vision are people that have managed to acquire wisdom. In this era of the new decade of the fourth industrial revolution, the post-COVID-19 decade of 2021 to 2030, it is the decade of the visionaries. We are in the year 2020. And in optometry, they talk about 2020 vision acuity. This is the decade of people with vision acuity, the ability to interpret life and give life solution and give predictions of life that are going to take systems forward and enhance the lives of the people. Just in summary, we say, how do we empower the mind and keep it current? One, you seek knowledge and wisdom and gain insight. The ability to read widely across all discipline will give you knowledge and wisdom. You need to question everything. You need to have an inquisitive mind. You need to be a person that is mindful, that is meditative and contemplative. People that are going to be wise in this era are people who can steady their mind in the midst of the chaos of the busy life of our postmodern era. People that can fill their mind with positive thoughts and hang around positive people. Get rid of negative people. Get rid of people that do not stimulate your mind and challenge you to think deeply and think high. And therefore, you are going to be able to enrich your mind and empower your mind by giving it knowledge, wisdom, and insight. By reading wildly, questioning everything, meditating and being mindful, deepening your focus, listening to people that stimulate you to think deeply and highly. May you be challenged to think deeply at this time and enrich and secure and anchor your mind. Thank you.